Okay, so I think we're ready to begin. Welcome to the Florida Horticulture for Health Network. We are presenting a series of webinars. This is our first one, and the title of this webinar is 3 People Plant Programs Making a Difference. I'm the moderator for today, Leslie Fleming. The Florida Horticulture for Health Network is a new group supporting horticulture for health initiatives in Florida and beyond, not just in Florida. And what we want to do is network, we want to do knowledge exchange and capacity building. We believe that horticulture and nature interventions can increase quality of life for all people, and that's regardless of age, ability, or background. Our vision at the network is to promote all nature of activities where human health is promoted and where horticulture plays a significant role. And what we want to do is link organizations to each other and to available resources where horticulture is used to improve health, including therapeutic horticulture and horticultural therapy, landscapes for health, nature therapy, emerging professional support, allied horticulture and health services, community and school gardens, and food action initiatives. The Florida Horticulture for Health Network website is now active, and you can see the link up on the screen. And we're really pleased to say that it offers great resources, including registration for future webinars. We have an EPUB called Cultivate, Facebook engagement, and on the website, a resource hub with tons of great research. We're still compiling it in process, but we expect that will be completed shortly. And that includes examples of real programs and gardens and videos, so please check it out. Today's webinar is 3 People Plant Programs Making a Difference. And the format for this live session will be a 15-minute presentation by each of the 3 presenters, followed by a question and answer period. So please put your questions in the chat box. This webinar will be available on the Florida Horticulture for Health Network YouTube channel. So let's get started. Jessica, if you would take down the network screen, we would appreciate it. And Alexa, why don't you start sharing your screen as I introduce you? So Alexa is from Jacksonville Beach, Florida. She went to University of Florida to study behavioral and cognitive neuroscience and found horticultural therapy in the process. Since then, she's been working on completing the certificate program for horticultural therapy. And the last portion she's doing currently, which is an internship at Grow Hub. In her spare time, Alexa works for another nonprofit that brings therapeutic horticulture programming to assisted living facilities and loves to garden, make pottery, and hang out with her chickens. So we're ready to hear all about Grow Hub from you, Alexa. Thanks for joining us. Take it away.
Hey, so hi, I'm Alexa. I'm representing Grow Hub. And you can see a small group of us. I'm not included in that picture, but yeah, we're a great community. All right. So Grow Hub stands for Growing Real Opportunities for Work, Harvest of Urban Business, and we're a vocational horticulture program. A little bit about who we are. Grow Hub is a nonprofit that provides opportunities for all sorts of individuals to gain skills in retail sales, nursery management, gardening, seed saving and stewardship, and art classes and yoga. We also provide space for local businesses and organizations that have similar goals. And we're a very diverse group of mixed age and ability, so everyone's welcome at Grow Hub. Our mission is cultivating, empowering, and assisting disabled adults for sustainable living through education, training, and job opportunities. And in that picture, you can see one of Working Food's seed gardens. This looks amazing. So our work is enriched with the work of our partner programs. They bring activities and purpose to our workers' lives. Some of our partners include Working Food, which has 2 seed gardens at our at Grow Hub, and they also provide opportunities to teach workers about seed saving and seed stewardship. We also have a partnership with UF Arts and Medicine. They bring arts and craft activities once a week, and they help with craft sales that support the program and the workers. Santa Fe College, which provides adult education opportunities with their Horticultural Pathways program, and Project Saint, which is a really great project you should look into on their website. They do a lot of cool stuff. And there's Keepalachua County Beautiful, which is a big organization. They help provide plants, volunteers, and grant support. We also are supported by the Patty Shively Foundation and the School Board of Alachua County, plus a lot more that I couldn't fit on the slide. But yeah, we're a great community network. In that picture, you can see some of the working food folks there sorting some beans, and it's a great opportunity for some workers that maybe need to sit down while they work. You know, you're still doing great work, and sit down and share stories while you pack seeds. It's fun. So how it all started. We evolved from the existing Farm to School to Work program, which includes the Growing Educational Training Program. That is a collaborative effort of the Food and Nutrition Department and the Exceptional Student Education Department of the Alachua County Public Schools. In the program, students learn about horticulture, food safety, food production, and nutrition. And the food that they produce actually supplements the cafeteria lunches in the district. So they actually have an amazing hydroponic greenhouse that I think I want to say they grow 100 heads of lettuce every week. So that they're just an amazing and very productive organization. And so they support students up to the age of 22. Growing educational training is for adults 18 to 22. And that age is important because that is essentially where public support network for adults with disabilities ends. And that's where we come in. So we support adults after the age of 22 when they age out of the network. And we provide all sorts of opportunities for adults with disabilities to gain access to meaningful work and job opportunities. So before we were even ourselves, before we were a Grow Hub, the property where we are located was a functioning horticulture therapy nursery. It was grant funded and associated with Lofton High School, which is right next door. It was called the Eagle Plant Shop after the high school's mascot. And this is actually the sign that's still there. We just have our sign over it. But yeah, it was a great program. A lot of great work was done there. They had a catfish farm and some agricultural. I think they had goats and a lot of food growing. But yeah, the grant funding ended around 2015, and unfortunately, the program kind of dissolved. But the core group of workers that worked at the Eagle Plant Shop actually is back at Grow Hub. So it's a continuing legacy. And here is our director, David, in the teal shirt. He is the head of Grow Hub. And he is ceremoniously handing out the first paychecks to the workers of Grow Hub. So it was a really special day for all of them. And for some, it was the very first paycheck that they had ever gotten. So it's a really wonderful time. This is an aerial view of the property. It's about 65 acres. Originally there was 2 greenhouses, I believe, and now there are 4. So I don't know if I can, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but yep, here is, okay, cool. Here is an original greenhouse. Back here we have a tractor barn. Over here is the art room where Arts and Medicine has their classes. And back here, this is from 2018, so it's not completely up to date, but where I have my cursor over here, we have a Florida natives area. And over here, you can see these two ponds were the catfish ponds. They no longer have catfish that we know, but that area is fenced off to become a pasture for some donkeys and chickens that we have on the property. So here's just a good side-by-side. These were taken before and after. This is the art room where we have our art classes, and you can see, like a lot of the property, it was very overgrown when we came to be, and so they just did so much great work with the help of volunteers and workers. Everything got new roofs, new flooring. This building has a wheelchair accessible pathway to the right of it that's not pictured. Yeah, that's a great showing how different things are. This is one of the original greenhouses. It was overgrown with grasses and weeds and had been abandoned for a little while. So the workers and volunteers had so much work to do, and they weeded that and they installed ground cloth and helped get the greenhouse up and running again. And here on the right was taken last week, and it's behind there. We have our fruit tree section, and in front we have some annuals and veggie starts right there. Everything's getting ready to be put into the greenhouse, preparing for winter. So it's all kind of congested, but we have a lot. Here are our spokes donkeys. This is Lewis and Clark. They were donated from a local farm, I'm going to say in 2018. So they're one of the newer members, and Amy is there. She is one of our donkey wranglers. She helps care and feed for the donkeys almost every day, and yeah, she's amazing. The donkeys themselves, they're working on their people skills, so they're hoping to meet more of the community very soon. So. Grow Hub has grown immensely since our humble beginnings. Not only have our workers gained valuable horticulture experience, they've made connections with the community that will last a lifetime. A number of our workers actually work for other nurseries and organizations in the community, which is a really great success. And overall, so we started just selling wholesale to other retail nurseries in the community. Mostly perennials, and now we have retail hours 6 days of the week, and we have seasonal pop-up events that support the program immensely. And we've greatly expanded our capacity and our selection. So like I said, we started with just perennials because that was the niche that was there. And now we carry annuals, we carry fruit trees, we have a large native selection, and we also have lots of succulents. So we just almost got it all. And so why does the work that we do matter? Well, persons with a disability make up the largest minority in the United States. Almost 1 out of every 4 persons in the United States has at least one disability. And only 17.9% of people with a disability are employed. And that has gone down from 19.3% in 2019. So obviously the pandemic has affected employment with all of us, but it's even more felt with the disabled community. And so what we do, vocational horticulture, brings purpose and belonging to individuals that may have had difficulty finding employment. And 2 big components of vocational horticulture are task identity and task significance. Task identity refers to the connection that an individual has with a product that's both tangible and valued. And task significance refers to the impact that product or work brings to the community. So in essence, every seed and cutting and plant that a worker cares for is a representation of the work and effort that they have put into it, and the skills that they've learned, and all of the wonderful growth that's gone into it. And when that plant passes on to somebody else, that is connecting us with them, and the meaning is transferred, and it's just a really great way that we connect with the community. And so along with that, when your work is valued and you're valued as a person, this helps build self-esteem and self-efficacy, like feelings that my work has meaning to other people outside of myself, and that I have the abilities that can bring on change. And those are really, really important things in what we do every day. And so overall, we're not just a nursery, we're a lot of things. But we always, we're always adapting to new challenges every day. There's always something new in the garden that we have to, take information from other community members and learn new things. And then we come back to the community and we share what we learn, and we're always adapting. So it's a great way. That's the magic that ties us with our neighbors, is how we connect over plants. And every day we celebrate our accomplishments and how far we've come. And it's all thanks to the community that has grown around Grow Hub. So we're looking forward to working with you. This is our address. This is a pretty good group photo. I would say this is about 80% of the people that work at Grow Hub. And yeah, we have retail hours Monday through Thursday and Saturday and Sunday. And there's almost always someone there, but hope to see you there.
Super, Alexa. That was really interesting. One quick question. How many people are participating in Grow Hub?
I would say we have about 12 part-time workers, but we have a lot more volunteers. We can't say no to a volunteer. So, every week there's somebody new coming in saying they heard about us online, or they saw us at the farmers market, and they just see what we're doing and they want to come and help. So it's
awesome.
Really great.
That's great. Kimberli has been employed by JARC Florida for the past 15 years, working with adults with autism and related disabilities. And while there, she designed and developed a therapeutic garden program for social wellness activities and vocational training. Prior to that, she worked with special needs children, providing gardening and nature activities that enhance their well-being. She has a background in Montessori education and a certificate in horticultural therapy from the University of Florida. We're thrilled to have you share your expertise and your program with us, Kimberli. So please tell us more about your programs.
JARC, we call it JARC.
Thank you.
It was founded by the Jewish community. It's a non-denominational program, but JARC stands for the Jewish Association for Residential Care. We have an apartment building that was built for 32 adults with developmental disabilities, and they live independently with supports. And then we have a dozen group homes out in the community for each house houses 8 individuals with a disability, and those individuals have 24/7 care. But they all come to the main campus, most of them come, for different kinds of training. We have a culinary training program. We have maintenance skills that are taught, and there's a fulfillment center where they put labels on envelopes and boxes and things like that. And originally I was hired as a case manager, and I felt that they would benefit with some kind of outdoor activities. So we started a part-time garden program, and the clients took to it with such enthusiasm that it just grew and grew, from a social wellness part-time program to a full-time social wellness program. And then into most recently, when the pandemic started, we began a vocational training program. So this is an aerial view of the property. That rooftop that you're looking at is the apartment building where 32 adults live. And the white line is the fence line of the garden. And in the beginning, this was a grassy area and nobody ever went back there. It was completely unused. There were even wild foxes at that time, 15 years ago. So it is an accessible garden now. It's completely paved with a curving, winding brick pathway. And on each side of the pathway are various raised beds of different heights, because we have people with walkers that garden with us. We have people in scooters and wheelchairs, and we are all different heights. So everybody has a comfort level that they can work at in the garden. And also there are lots of chairs and benches along the way in case somebody wants to sit or talk to somebody else that's gardening. And next to the chairs and the benches, there's always something good to smell or taste or look at. So here are some of our gardeners. It's an urban farm to table. We grow primarily edibles, although we are getting into more pollinator plants at this time. We grow food. What's your superpower? And these guys really do feel super and powerful as they harvest and enjoy sharing this food. We have a cafe on campus. We grow enough food to share with the cafe. We also auction off platters to raise money. This is an auction platter here. And we do plenty of farm to table eating. We have an outdoor kitchen with a grill and refrigerator and burners and all the goods that we need. Of course, we teach good nutrition, and you wouldn't believe how many clients say, oh, I don't eat vegetables, but when that vegetable pizza shows up in front of them, they're the first one asking for seconds. In addition to the gardening, there's also expressive art in the garden once a week, and music whenever we can get it, because they really enjoy their music. And this all takes place out underneath a giant royal poinciana tree. Unfortunately, I don't have a picture of that. So here are some of the clients doing the vocational skills. She's learning to wash and prep vegetables. And the guys on the right are assembling a raised bed. And learning to use tools properly builds confidence. And it's amazing how fearful they are in the beginning around sharp objects, whether it's a kitchen knife or a saw. But it doesn't take long before they overcome that fear and become really adept at using the tools appropriately. Here is somebody harvesting carrots and another shelling black beans. And they all have different abilities as far as gross motor skills and fine motor skills, but they have the opportunity to work on both throughout the season. Each client keeps a journal, and even the clients that don't read or write have a journal, because I take lots of photographs of them working, and then I get them printed out and they put them in the journal, and that way they can show their journals to somebody like their family or a visitor to the garden. And they're very proud of their journals because they see themselves. And their artwork goes in there, and pressed flowers and seed packets, things like that. We have lots of kinetic accents in the garden that really they love. We have opportunities for them to reel the hoses in to these garden towers on the right, rotate, and it can be wheeled to somebody that may need to work in the shade. So we'll wheel it over to the shade, they can work on it, and then later we'll wheel it into the sun. These are intentional choices of materials. I've found that these kinds of tools are very helpful. This is a rotating compost barrel on the left, and then a swing. And by providing socially acceptable opportunities for movement within the program, the unacceptable behaviors are greatly diminished. A lot of the autistic population will do self-stimulation and rocking and humming. And when they have the opportunity to rotate the barrel or to swing on the swing or to reel in the hose, it subsides that need, or it satisfies that need for movement. This flower sculpture on the left spins. And the clients also know that they can ask for a bubble break if the session I'm giving is not holding their attention, or they just need to wiggle for a few minutes. They grab a wand, they go blow some bubbles on the side, and then they re-enter. And we consider this just as natural as asking for a bathroom break, because it satisfies, it is a necessary function of well-being. Understanding nature in the garden helps us to understand ourselves, and we're constantly observing and learning. Every day, the clients start the day with an observation walk, because the garden is constantly changing, as you know, and the way it was yesterday afternoon is not the same it is the next morning. So they start their day with an observation walk, and then they share their observations at the end of the walk. And they have a butterfly house where they observe caterpillars and chrysalis, and then they release the butterflies, and they've become very adept at taking care of them and capturing caterpillars. The clients also have a nature library, and there are many nooks and shady and safe places where they can sit and read or have some reflective time. And most afternoons after their hard work in the garden is over, that's what they do. They either work in their journals or read a book. We're very fortunate to have this garden to work and learn in. The clients have a very strong sense of ownership. It is their garden, and I don't make the decisions for them. It is always a community that makes decisions together. It's not someplace they just come for a class. They absolutely love the garden and love to share it with people who come to visit. And we hope that you'll come visit us as well. That's it.
Wonderful. Kimberli, from your presentation, it's obvious that you have a passion, creativity, and a real commitment to people and plants. So thank you for sharing your program with us. Donna is from Robbins Air Force Base in Central Georgia, and she is the coordinator of Hope Garden, which is part of the Hope program at Robbins Air Force Base in Middle Georgia. It has one of the highest suicide rates of any military installation. She is a former Air Force officer with a BA in biology, a master's degree in international relations, a master's degree in education, and she's also a master gardener. Donna works with a base psychologist delivering a variety of programs, some therapeutic horticulture, some are diversity classes. She mentioned a Wingman Day, which perhaps she'll touch on when she speaks, and programs with youth. Donna has a certificate in horticultural therapy from University of Florida, and she's from the very first class, which is awesome. So Donna, if you're ready to proceed, it's your turn to give us a glimpse into your program.
Okay, hi everybody. My name is Donna, and I'm from Robbins Air Force Base. Can you see me still?
Yes, if we can get you on full screen, that would be great. If not, you're doing fine.
Okay, I'm at Robbins Air Force Base, and I'm actually at the Hope Gardens, and you can hear the airplanes in the background. That is one of our challenges when we're doing some things out here. But I'd like to give you a little background on Hope Gardens. This started out in 1977, and it was a memorial garden, and it was put together by the Camellia Society Well, as the Camellia Society decided to kind of drift away from the project, this 3 acres on base turned into a jungle. So that was going on. In the meantime, the HOPE program itself started, which stands for Help Available, Opportunities Exist, People Care and Expect Opportunities. So anyway, when that was going on, I was going to Master Gardener training, and then I went into the horticulture therapy program down at the University of Florida. So we had these 3 things going on, and we collided in 2020. The HOPE people came over and they saw me. It was basically just my husband and I cleaning the garden. We weren't really expecting too much, but we were getting it together. And they said, would you like to be part of the HOPE program? And I said, yes. And let me tell you what I can add to the program. So I met with the base commander and I told him, I'm in school. This is what we're going to do. And he said, well, when we get out of school, we can do some stuff, but I will give you some help. And we've got engineering. They were able to fix the lighting. They fixed the sidewalks and they turned some water on to us. And then it was still kind of hit and miss. Nobody really thought much about it. It was just kind of me and my husband and a handful of volunteers, and they didn't think it was going to go anywhere. Well, we fooled them. And I graduated in April. I got with the base psychologist, and she said I could really use you. So we've been doing some of those programs with her. So far, we've done grief. We've done PTSD, and then we've done some empowerment classes. So it's been kind of a fun ride with that. But in the meantime, we had this beautiful garden, and some of the sexual assault people came over and they said, can we do yoga in your garden? I said, please do it. And then we have the wingman, which is kind of like where we get an office. We'll come out and have kind of a community day with the office, and they come out here and they have fun. And what we did is we spent 3 hours in the garden doing the heavy lifting. We all had lunch together. Then we did one of those paint and sip things here at the garden. So that was kind of a fun day. One of the other things we got was the Boy Scouts came out and they did some of their Eagle Scout projects. And we've had a lot of interest and more interest going on. But what I'd like to kind of really talk about is our clientele. We have about 5,000 military, about 38,000 civilians. And one of the things with this population is it's a very stressful job, especially here in Robbins. We have a war mission, plus we also are a depot where we fix the planes. So they're under a lot of stress. And that's why I think Robbins has the highest suicide rate of any military installation in the Air Force. So we're trying to find programs to reduce the stress. And the HOPE program with the HOPE Garden being kind of the centerpiece of that. And the way I kind of got this together, because it was just me, just a volunteer kind of said, what can we do? And one of the advice I would give to people that wanted to start a garden is really talk up the program. People kind of tease me. They say, you're always wearing either your HOPE shirt. You might as well just get HOPE tattooed on your forehead, because if you're with me for 5 minutes, you're going to know about this garden. And I also would advise people to listen and get to know people. And that's what I've done. I've got a lot of connections with people here on base, and they're starting to call me and saying, hey, can we do this at the garden, or do you need help at the garden? And one of the other things that I would suggest is get really involved in a lot of the other programs going on base. I talked my husband into dressing up like a bumblebee, and he and I did trunk or treat, where we had some big signs from HOPE Gardens, and we gave out little flowers to the kids as they came through the trunk or treat. And today I was dressed up like a turkey advertising the garden. And we've been doing some stuff off base to advertise it. And we've done runs through the garden. So we've been doing a lot of stuff to get people to come out here and just relax. And one of the big things about this garden is I said, no red, white, and blue, nothing military here, which sounds really funny being a former Air Force officer and being on a military installation. But the thing is, when I have people come to the garden, I want them to relax. I want them to be distracted from their day. I was able to get one of those free little libraries that we have set up here so people can come in, take a book, sit and read. I try to have a lot of children's programs because the military child is about 70% more likely to have social issues than non-military children. So we've been working with the YDC, the youth program here on base, and bringing the children out here, talking to the children, because when you have a parent that's deployed, or in some cases they have both the mother and father deployed, it's really hard on the children. And it's kind of funny, as a master gardener, the symbol for the military child is the dandelion. So now I don't have to dig up the dandelions from the garden because I say that's a symbol of hope. And one of the other things I would really suggest if you would like to start a garden is get with the master gardeners. And you can find the master gardeners by going to your county extension office and ask them who's in charge. Because without the master gardeners' support, I couldn't have gotten this done. They come out here, they give me advice, they help with the program, especially with the children. They come out here, we have the Spouses Club. We did a whole Earth Day celebration out here. One of them made me, this is my new favorite word, I think. It's a Sprachtackle. And if you don't know what a Sprachtackle is, it's one of those boards that's painted up, you stick your face through it, and you look, and mine looks like a bumblebee. And so the kids come over and they play with that. I'm in every contest that the base has here so that people know that we exist, because for us, since we have such a diverse group of people here, and it's kind of a different kind of clientele. I was listening to the other people. Our clientele, to be in the military, you have to have at least a high school education. And most of our airmen, even coming in, 1 and 2 stripers, have at least an associate degree. And if you're an officer, you have to have a master's degree or above to get promotion. So we have a highly educated bunch, and we have a very proud bunch. A lot of them are afraid to come out and ask for help. And I was out here one day working, and one of the airmen came up and we started talking and found out that she had been an abused wife. And so we were able to talk that through, and we were able to get her to the help that she needs. So that's why this garden is like very, very different from the programs that you've been hearing about. When you have people that almost embarrassed to say that they need help and don't want to admit that they need help, they come out here, and it's been really amazing talking to some of the people and working with the psychologists that have been kind of opening up to us. The financing here on base is a little bit different because we're under federal laws. I cannot do any fundraising here. I can get money through the master gardeners. The base itself does not give me any money. There's no tax money being used for this garden. It's all money that I've gotten as a master gardener, and people, and through the grants, and I get a lot of gift in kind. But I have a lot of nurseries that give plants and stuff, but they cannot advertise because of the regulations here on base. But it's been a fun adventure, and it was one that I didn't know I was going to be doing. When I started the Master Gardening class, I never thought this was going to happen. And I never thought that I'd be part of the whole program, but it's exciting. And I hope that other people out there that are listening, if you're kind of looking to see where maybe you want to put your talents, don't forget the military. They need you. You had an 18-year-old kid that's been taken away from home, comes down to Georgia, and they're out here flying these planes. It's stressful. So like I said, it's a different kind of clientele. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.
Great. Donna, that was really interesting. Your Hope Garden is one of a few programs that I'm aware of throughout the country that works with active military. I think within horticultural therapy and therapeutic horticulture programming, there are a number of programs working with veterans, fewer with active military. And thank you for sharing with us that that includes families, children, because often the programs that we may begin, we start with a nucleus or a target group, and then in reality, we are working with a broader segment of the community. So thank you very much Okay, so we're going to have some questions and answers. So please go ahead and put them in the chat box and I'll try and watch those. I'm happy to start off with some questions. So I would like to pose a question to Kimberli. Are there other plant-based programs like yours or at other JARCs in Florida or elsewhere, or are you one of a kind?
There is a plant program not far from us. It's probably 3 or 4 miles away. That is a vocational horticultural program. It's not therapeutic horticulture. It's vocational training, and it's a nursery business. And they sell wholesale to landscapers. But it's not like ours. It's very different from ours.
Right. And Kimberli, are you pleased with the successes that you've seen from your program? Will you talk to us in terms of improved social skills or employment that some of your participants may have gone on to?
Well, there have been so many. After 15 years, miracles become day to day. We've had clients that were nonverbal and disruptive inside, and I would take them on daily walks just through the garden. And I would say, you know, here, smell this, here, taste that, look at this, and then bring them back to the building, and they would be much more calm. And one student in particular did that with me for probably a year, never spoke. But when he saw me, he wanted to go with me through that garden. So I invited him to join the garden club, and he would never talk and he would never be part of the group. He would stand back and away. And one day he picked a pepper and he put it under my nose and he said, "Here, smell." And those were his first words ever, because that's what I was always saying, "Here, smell." And other clients, especially it seems like the boys tend to be rambunctious and maybe troublemakers in the building, but once they come into the garden program, they actually turn into leaders and teachers to other clients. So I see it all the time.
That's awesome. That's wonderful. Super. Alexa, I have a question for you. You have been able through Grow Hub or with your team to establish fabulous partnerships. That's really quite inspiring. Do you think that what you're doing is replicable by other school boards? I see that one of your major partners is a school district of, is it Alachua County? Do you think what you're doing can be replicated elsewhere, and perhaps you know of other programs similar?
I know it can be replicated. I'm not sure. I'm sure there are other school districts that do something similar, but it's just a great way to connect the students with gardening. So some of the Farm to School to Work students actually help build raised beds at schools in the district, and they help with the care. But yeah, I wish I knew of more places, because it's a great resource for the school district.
Right. And perhaps some of the people participating or who will listen to this webinar may borrow from some of your ideas and then start something. Can you tell me, have you had any of the young people that you're working with transition into employment outside of Grow Hub?
Yeah, we have a couple workers right now. They work, I want to say it's 1 or 2 days a week at another nursery that does wholesale. And I don't think that's supported employment either. I think they go and do their work and they know what they're doing because of what they've learned at Grow Hub. So that's really cool to see. And a couple workers also work a day or two at Working Food. So they help pack orders and respond to emails and things like that. So
that's
wonderful. There's all
wonderful.
sorts of work for different people.
Yeah, that's great. It's exciting to see how one idea or one activity can really blossom into so many positives. Thank you. Donna, I have a question for you about Hope Garden. And my question is, do you perceive or view Hope Garden as a sanctuary? I mean, it's obviously a beautiful garden setting, but you talked a little bit about people coming to do different activities. Do you, with your training in the University of Florida Horticultural Therapy Certificate, consider it to be a sanctuary garden?
Yes, I do. And can you see me, hear me?
Yep. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Please. Yep.
Yes, yes, we do. As a matter of fact, it's about 3 acres, and we put little nooks in there so people can come out here, 1s and 2s, to kind of get away from things. And we were able to get a gazebo. It's kind of a funny story, but we were able to get a very beautiful gazebo that was slated to be destroyed, and they let us have it. And it's been kind of nice. We have a group of people that are called ROMs, and that means restricted on movement, because our hotel is really close to our garden, close to the hotel. And what this is military that have come to our base, and because of COVID, they have to spend 2 weeks here, and then they go on overseas. And what happens is they cannot leave the hotel area, so they do come over to the garden. And then they wrote a really, really nice piece that actually went viral about how coming to the garden gave them tranquility before they had to go overseas, and they went to the Middle East. So yeah, it is.
Great. It's interesting to see what you, one person, with your husband, 2 people, have been able to initiate. And I think that's inspiring for many of us. Often we'll start off with programs and it seems like an awful lot of work, but you've also shared with us that reaching out to the community, including master gardeners and other volunteers, can bolster the effort that you're trying to do. Your garden also, in addition to being a sanctuary garden, is the delivery site for programs. And some of us are fortunate to be able to have that. Others, we do tabletop gardening programs, and we may not be able to be in a beautiful setting. So thank you for sharing that with us.
One thing. 2 other Air Force bases have contacted Robbins, and they want to kind of do the same thing at their bases. And when it sounds like I did it, I really, physically, I guess I did it, but it was just something. I am a spiritual person, and it was just like doors just kept opening up that I didn't even know existed. And I said, well, I guess I might as well go through them. And it came here. It was just, for me, it's been like a little miracle, and it's been great.
Awesome. There is a question for you, Donna, and it goes, hi, Donna, you mentioned that you work closely with psychologists on your site. Are there any other partners that you work with on your team? For example, substance use counselors or other therapists?
Good question. We work with the base psychologist, and also with SAPRA, and that's the Sexual Abuse Prevention and Reporting group. Matter of fact, they were the first people that I dealt with, and they do sexual abuse. And then from there, it went to child abuse, because unfortunately, there is some of that. So we've been working with them. And then the HOPE program itself is the resilience. And HOPE program takes all the helping agencies. If you go into the garden, you'll see the list of all the helping agencies of the drug, mental, physical. We work with the gym to do PT out here. So yeah, we're trying to make a full rounded person out here. So yeah, I work with another team. Sorry, I'm going so fast because I get so excited. It's called the CAT Commanders Action Team. And that was put together with all the helping agencies, and I'm part of that.
Super. I think that what is evident from all 3 presentations is that partnerships really can expand on what we're all trying to do. I'd like to take the opportunity to thank Kimberli, Alexa, and Donna, as well as Jessica Sullivan, who's been helping with the technical side, for helping us do this webinar. And I would like to share with you that we have a few more webinars through the Florida Horticulture for Health Network scheduled. The next one is December 13th at 7 p.m. And all of this information is on the website. And the topic is, what is horticulture for Health. In January, the webinar that we'll be presenting is Adaptive Gardening. That's January 11th at 10 a.m. And Jessica Sullivan is the speaker on that one. The February webinar on the 7th at 7 p.m. is Gardening Makes Me Giggle, Laughter Therapy and Horticultural Therapy. And I'd like to extend an invitation to those of you who are attending this live webinar today. Perhaps you have some topics or programs that you would like to share. The whole purpose of the Florida Horticulture for Health Network is to share resources and connect with one another. So if that is the case, if you're interested, please contact us through the website. Thank you for joining us today, especially thank you presenters. You've inspired us, and keep going. Your work really does make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you.